An interview with Jolie Fleming. In May 2021, your How to Be Human, an autistic man's guide to life, became a runaway bestseller all over the world. How do you feel about it?
はじめまして、ジョリー・フレミングです。よろしくお願いします。It's such a pleasure to get a chance to speak with you, to share more about myself and about my book. And thank you for kicking off our conversation. You know, it's a weird feeling to have a book that I helped to bring into the world. You know, whenever I look at the cover and see my name on it, I'm reminded of all that went into it. And that includes people like you who helped to bring my book to a new audience, and reminds me of all the readers as well. Because that's what I think is particularly magical about books, is that it's not just about me as an author and what I was trying to do, but also what readers who read the book, what they might take away from it. And when I think about the feelings that I have associated with my book, that's actually what I am really excited about, is getting a chance to think about those readers and what they might be taking away. Because from time to time I get a chance to interact with readers or to hear from them and to hear what they have to say. And I feel that in many cases I learn just as much from them and what they share as what I was hoping to share with them through the book itself.
Even though you've got a reliable editor and writer in Lily Winnick, as she states in the book, publishing How to Be Human was firstly difficult. However, at the same time, both of you seem to have really enjoyed writing this book. While translating, I sometimes could not help laughing at your interesting comments, like we see in talking about likes and dislikes. Please let us know what was most enjoyable and most challenging for you in writing this.
I'm really excited you brought that up, because I think that this book is different than a lot of other memoirs, in the sense that it does have information about me, about my story, but I think Lyric and I were really trying to give the reader a view inside of my mind. And that presented a challenge to both of us, in that how do we organize something like that in a way that makes sense to the reader? How do we construct a journey that the reader can go on, at the end of which they feel like they've learned about me and perhaps learned a bit about autism through my own experiences and that glimpse that they had of my mind and what they encountered along the way. And that was definitely a challenge. But it was also enjoyable. Working with Lyric was one of the highlights for me of the process that eventually resulted in this book. And I think that by working together with Lyric, it really gives the reader the best chance to get inside my mind. But just on a personal level, it also led to some wonderful experiences and memories for me. Part of the writing of the book occurred while I was in graduate school studying in England, and Lyric came over to visit while I was there, and we had such a wonderful time together exploring through the old buildings. And I remember one day we were visiting the University Botanical Garden. It's a lovely day, and we took a seat on this bench, and we were sitting there and chatting for a while. And we saw people pass by and kind of look and pass by again and just keep looking. And eventually somebody said, would you mind sharing a turn on the bench? And it was a bench that was famous from some of Philip Pullman's novels, where that particular bench makes an appearance in the story. And so people would come to the Botanical Garden specifically to share some time on this bench. And neither Lyric or I knew that was the case about this particular bench, and so we had a good good time with that, not even realizing that we were sitting on a significant bench while we were discussing and getting to know one another. But I think when I think back about the book, there were definitely challenges, but really those enjoyable moments stand out foremost in my mind.
I am always impressed with your strongly affirmative comments, like people with autism can have a shared version or act collectively toward a goal, and with your gracious compassion for all disabled people. Could you tell us about your ideal situation or goal for human beings on the planet?
I believe that everyone is truly valuable. You know, one of the things that I enjoy most is the chance to learn from others. So many times throughout my life, in my interactions with other people, even if they might be difficult for me as an autistic individual, I find again and again that I know some things, but you may also know things. And it's usually a rare circumstance where there's perfect overlap between those two. So that means that there are things that I know that you don't, and vice versa, things that you know that I didn't know. And by sharing that, I can learn so much, can have such an enjoyable time, getting to think about things that I never thought about, the chance to laugh at something, the chance to be amazed by something, or the chance to be curious about something. And when I reflect on my own disabilities, which include autism, but also some other physical disabilities and medical conditions, they bring both benefits and challenges. And that's just a part of who I am, my own experience in the world, and how I encounter the environment and the people that are around me. And so perhaps an ideal situation is just an increase in ease through which that sharing can happen. You know, even though that's one of the main challenges for me as an autistic person, I hope to do that more and more, to share with others and learn from others in return as they share with me. It may not always be perfect, it may not always be the best that it can be, but I think the more that happens, the more opportunities you have to learn, to be amazed, to be inspired, and to impact the environment and the society around us for the better.
In July 2016, a terrible incident happened in Sagamihara, Kanagawa, in this country. 19 people were killed and 26 others were injured, 13 severely, at a care home for disabled people, including people with autism. The suspect was a 26-year-old man, a former employee of the care facility. The criminal was sentenced to death in March 2020. We were overcome with profound sorrow and anger after hearing his terrible comments, like people with severe disability should be euthanized. I did it for the sake of Japan and world peace, and killing them will decrease our misfortune. Although I know, just like us, how hard for you to accept the fact, it would be appreciated if you could comment on the horrible, unacceptable incident. Your comments will help ease the victims and their families.
My heart goes out to them and to their families and to all of those who love them. I think it's a reminder that throughout our history, bad things have happened and evil does exist. But I also think about archaeologists who, through examining ancient human settlements, have found disabled people that needed care, but that were a valuable member of those communities and treated with love and with dignity. And I think that's a reminder that throughout our history, care and love have also been a part of our shared human story. And my hope is that into the future, we see more love and care in a way that's inclusive and building towards an inclusive community, and not as many of these terrible incidents like the one that you mentioned. I think that we all can play a role in that. We can all play a role in how we treat disabled people and how society treats disabled people. We can build a better community together, one that expresses more love and care that's a part of our human history, and less of the bad things that have occurred in the world around us in the past and are happening today as well.
I'm also greatly moved by your positive attitude toward your life. You say things like a lot of people with disabilities have a lot of difficulty in their lives. However, I want to choose ruthless optimism as how I present myself. At the same time, you can be sincerely kind to others. That's not acceptable to say to someone who's disabled. And while I don't care about it, you should not say that to other people who are not me but have a service dog. It would probably ruin their week. Without losing your beautiful smile, you keep on doing everything. Could you let us know the secret of your smile?
As an autistic individual, engaging with others and communication is tremendously difficult and can drain the energy that I have available from day to day. And as I explain in the book, that's largely because I have to translate what's in my brain into the medium that many of us use to communicate with one another, which is words and language. And while that process is really difficult, it's something that I try to do and try to get better in, because I think it's important for me to be able to elect how I engage with other people. I think that's really my role and something that I can do in forming a better community. And one anecdote that I share in the book is thinking about the people that you might pass in any given day, in the store, on the sidewalk, in a building. And that stranger, it may be the only time that you see them that week, that month, that year, or even the only time you see them at all, especially if you're visiting somewhere new. And I think what's really interesting is to think about, if that person was to glance over my way, how would they remember me? And maybe if I have a smile, then that's what they remember, or even just that it brightens their day just a little bit. And I think that it's a reminder that we can all impact the world around us by making these kinds of choices. And I'm not always successful in my approach to doing that, but I give it my best attempt. And I think that it's something that I might recommend that you try if you haven't done it before, just to think about that and to think about the stranger, so next time you're ready with your own smile.
What does the title, How to Be Human, mean? What kind of message or wish did you want to send with this title?
So I can't take too much credit for the title. That was really Lyric, my co-author, and Priscilla, my editor here for the American publisher Simon & Schuster, who came up with the title. But I really like it because I think that it speaks to what I was trying to do with the book, which is to give people a chance to learn something about autism by diving into my own experiences and my own life. You know, I'm a big reader. I love to read books. And when I think about why I read nonfiction, it's because it gives me the chance to encounter a whole new world, whether that's something about a place, a person, or all sorts of things. I mean, the variety is incredible. And when I think about people and what makes diversity so interesting is the fact that we're all just a little bit different from one another in ways both large and small. And that can include our brains and the way that we think and what that can mean for our environment and interaction with other people and the kinds of things that might come out of that. And so, you know, I think each reader might take away different things from the book, but I hope that, like any work of nonfiction, you give it a chance and you might come away with something new. And if you do, I'd love to know what it is.
Due to the ongoing outbreak of COVID-19, we can't get together and talk in person. As a scholar of geography, I believe you are worrying about the situation. Could you give us your comment on today's environmental problems in the world?
You're right, I definitely do worry about these things, whether it's public health challenges, environmental problems like you mentioned, social issues such as inequality. These things affect all of us because we're all in this together. But as a geographer, I think about the things that we can learn from one another as well. South Carolina is different from Japan, but by sharing with one another, there are things that we can each learn about how we might approach these issues in a way that influences them and changes things for the better. I think by talking with one another, by sharing stories, sharing experiences, we can come to better solutions that we can implement in our communities and wherever we might find ourselves in the world. But many of the environmental problems that I work on day to day are bigger. They, for example, like climate change, don't just stay in one place like other pollution problems, but it affects everyone. It affects people in where you are in your community, but also in communities far away. And so I think it's especially important that we broaden our horizons of the people that we consider to be in our own community. And I think that could be a great first step into thinking about these environmental problems that are larger, such as climate change. And the fact that South Carolinians need people in Japan and vice versa.
Please tell us about what you are doing now. I know you became a researcher at your alma mater, University of South Carolina. Congratulations. As a researcher in the Department of Geography, what kind of works do you do every day?
Right now, I'm a climate scientist at the University of South Carolina, which is based in the southeastern part of the United States. It's where I grew up, and it gives me a chance to use what I learned in my studies of the environment to try to assist the communities around me. Day to day, I can be doing different things, analyzing data from climate models, reading and synthesizing academic reports or journal articles, all with the goal of translating that scientific information and making it more accessible to different people, whether that's government groups, nonprofits, or others that might want to know more about climate change and the science. One example is a report that I was working on and contributing to along with the wider team for the State Office of Resilience. And that document will be used to try to help create a more resilient South Carolina by a better understanding of climate science and what it might mean for the state. I'm also really excited to be able to get the chance to do some teaching in the department I get a chance to teach a lower level introductory geography class, and that presents a whole new set of challenges, but also opportunities. It's tremendously exciting to be able to get to learn from students and to share with them some of what I know as well.
In Japan, we have Naoki Higashida, who is a person with autism, published books on him and his life. One of them, The Reason I Jump, the inner voice of a 13-year-old boy with autism, became a world bestseller thanks to Ireland-based British writer David Mitchell's superb translation. The world-famous author, whose son also has autism, decided to translate Higashida's book with his Japanese wife because they wanted to know what their son is thinking and feeling. I believe both people with and without autism are always cured by words and life of people like Naoki Higashida and David Mitchell, just like you are doing with How to Be Human. I can say that there are many people who got a firm resolution or hope to live from your words and a way of your life. Could you give us a comment on that?
I haven't yet read The Reason I Jump, but thank you for recommending it. You know, as a book lover, one of the things that I do is I keep a list of books that that have been recommended to me by friends, and so I'll definitely be putting it on my list to read. And I'm excited that my book is part of a growing number of books that help people to understand a little bit more about autism in a way that might help them perhaps to reevaluate how they see autistic individuals and how they might treat those individuals in society. And I think, although I struggle with words, it's a reminder that they can impact the world around us, and that encountering diversity can be a real joy.
Could you let us know about your current projects?
私は日本語を習います。毎日日本語を勉強します。I'm trying to learn Japanese. I actually took my first class this summer, and I hope to continue in my studies. And part of what inspired me to do that was learning that my book would be translated into Japanese and reach Japanese readers. I think it's fair to call it a project because it's been it has been difficult, yes, but it's a difficulty that I've enjoyed, and one of the things that I have really actually enjoyed learning is all of the different kanji symbols. I'm a very visual thinker, and so it's really fascinating to me about the visual complexity in the symbols and how it can express meaning. One of my other hobbies is Scottish country dancing, which I learned while I was studying in the UK, and I was really excited to be able to attend a school in the Blue Ridge Mountains here in the US to continue dancing, and that's another project, a hobby that I hope to continue. On the work side, one thing that I've been working on lately is a report with the State Energy Office in exploring different ways to fund different climate solutions in the state, and I may try to take that forward and make it a reality. I don't have any immediate plans when it comes to more writing, but you know, maybe in the future, I think there might be more to share.
Finally, please give us your personal message for your Japanese reader.
I really find it incredible that you're translating my book and that it'll be read by people in Japan. You know, thinking about it, it's so far away, but I think it speaks to the power of books and how we can share with one another, even though we're not in the same space. And I hope to visit one day. And maybe by that point, my studies will have enabled me to carry on a full conversation in Japanese. We'll see. But in the meantime, I want to say thank you so much for approaching my book. And if you enjoy it, I would love to hear what you think. And I hope that you can share that with me or can share that with other people around you as well.